we're live. This is the OSRA Daily Scrum for Thursday, December 18th, 2014. Here we have Andre, Brian, Craig, Christian, and myself. And let's go alphabetical today. Andre, let's start with you.
Yeah, I wasn't particularly productive today. I paired with Christian, but it was mostly Christian doing things, and I was sort of observing and distracting him. So we worked on OSRA 294, and before I left, and I left about 50 minutes ago, we had the working, well actually Christian had the working methods, the working validation even before, and then we started testing them. So that the introduction of the methods to actually validate sponsorship advantage broke some of the RSpec tests. So most of the work was to try to now make these RSpec tests work again. So did you, Christian, did you manage to make all RSpec tests work?
Yes, RSpec is finished now.
Cool. So yeah, 294 then is almost done.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
It still needs a little reviewing just to make sure it's.
Oh yeah, code review definitely.
Yeah, and the cucumber test to check for the messages, the valid and invalid messages.
Okay.
Yeah. Although RSpec is, we're basically checking the messages in RSpec, right? Where we see them.
Yeah. We're testing the controller. Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Just to be redundant, we can do it in Cucumber as well.
Yeah.
All right. Christian, I guess let's go to you then. Do you have anything to add?
Well, in the morning I made the changes to the 295 and 296, the RSpec refactoring. And good thing that I did, because I found an error there, so I think now it's better, but well, let's discuss on that. And well, that's it.
Okay. Do you guys, either one of you, Andre, Christian, do you have something to work on next, or you're once again looking for?
We have this
yeah.
The task that we took from Craig, improvement of performance due to the removing the filtering options. But according to Pavel, this is somewhere. It's not a particularly top priority. Although I don't know, on the Jira board, probably it's one of the upmost.
Yeah. Well, our Jira board is definitely not in any kind of order.
No.
So yeah.
So yeah, 245, 246, 247. That's for us.
Okay. All right, Robbie, let's go to you.
Hi there. Today I haven't really done anything at all, apart from just some background stuff on Ruby. Just really waiting to see if there's any comments either from the Git procedures that I wrote, or from the user story that I pushed through regarding removing the settings.yaml file. But apart from that, I haven't done anything today.
Concerning the Git procedures, I don't know again whether to throw it right now or afterwards, but I looked at your retrospectives, the retrospective for week 4 and week 5, and you used to use Gitpong, apparently.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and I was wondering which workflow you were using and whether this should be documented.
Yeah, I was thinking of, so I have a few comments about Robbie's, the guide that he has for GitHub, and one of the things that I wanted to do is to actually, I have a link to a page that I think is pretty good in describing how to set up Gitpong, and I think on second last slide in that presentation there is, I think the title is something like 2 developers working on the same feature, so that could be included.
Yes, I had in mind doing something like that, Nick. So yes,
okay.
We can do that. If you put the link on either on the group chat or on Slack. I can pick
Yeah,
that up.
it might take me a few minutes to find it.
Okay,
Plus,
yeah.
as I said, I have a few other comments about it,
Right.
about the document itself. So I'll take a few minutes to write them up at some point, and I'll send you the whole thing.
The other thing I would be keen to put in, Nick, is just something around what you do to pull stuff through into production. So I don't know whether you've got anything coming up that's along those lines that I could kind of sit and watch, see what you do.
Sorry for pushing the code to production.
Yeah.
That's what you said. Yeah, I was actually, well, how about this? Let's finish up the Scrum, and then we can talk about this, because this is something I was thinking of doing probably tonight, depending on what we decide to do about PR number 215.
Okay.
So if we go ahead and merge it in, then I think it'll be the right time to push our develop to staging. So I would do that then, and if anybody's interested, they can watch.
What time is at your place?
Right now it's just after 10 o'clock.
Oh, right, okay. Good.
And I mean, this particular thing won't be especially exciting, but again, if anybody just wants to see how it's done, then by all means. Robbie, anything else to add?
No, that's just it. Apart from really counting, see if there's any opinions about that other thing I pushed through regarding changing the orphan importer, whether you want to go down that route before or not.
I personally, I looked at it very quickly, but I've been focusing today on the tasks that are our priorities, so I don't have anything to say about it yet.
Okay, it's just there is a fair bit more work to do in changing our spec tests, so I didn't want to get stuck into those unless you're kind of fairly happy with the overall approach.
Right, right. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think it depends on what kind of action we will see on the pull requests, even tonight. Okay, well, since our alphabetical order is out the window anyway, Craig, let's go to you and then to Brian.
So I've done some code review today, and I've seen your post to Google Plus. I think maybe some of that is still relevant because there's a field in the settings YAML that's still wrong, isn't there?
Yeah, I didn't mean to imply with that comment that the entire pull request...
No, sorry, I didn't get that impression at all. I've worded that badly if you got that impression. Yeah, no. I'm sorry if
No. Yeah, I'm just thinking about... sorry, what is it, 224? Is that the one?
Have you got it on the screen there? Yeah, basically that integer cast the integer cast's no longer needed, is it? We can go back to column value to I.
Right.
But there is one of the settings in the config that was, I think, set to an integer and does need to be a string.
Guardian relationship.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So for this pull request, we would revert.
Yeah, I can revert those and say I can either make that part of the part of 2.1, or should we keep? We'll probably keep them separate, even though it's very small.
Separate, because I think 2.15. Well, again, we'll get to it in a moment, but I think it's ready to be merged. So let's not hold it up any more than.
So I can do that. Finish that off this evening and repush the commit.
All right, great. Brian.
Yeah, I paired with Viv a little bit last night, and I pushed what I had from 294 because I knew Christian and Andre were going to be looking at it. And from what I hear, they've made good progress on it. So I was busy with a couple local things around here, so I didn't get a whole lot done in the last day, but I do have some time right now to work on it if I can figure out where would be the best place to invest my time.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, since I think 294 is already taken care of.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Brian, did Viv sort a Will paginate stubbing out?
Yeah, for the most part, there's still. We're trying to track down this error in active admin, though. I'm still not sure where it's coming from. Undefined method per or active model relation, I think is what it said. I'm not sure. But we didn't have too long because it was pretty late local time here.
Okay. So I guess I'll wrap things up then by saying that today I did a code review. I also talked to the client, and I think all that is everybody knows about all of that. I also spoke again with Christopher Milne, and we agreed that we will chat tomorrow. He is free after 11 p.m. UTC. So we will probably just do a hangout. Well, not probably. We'll definitely do a hangout. If anybody wants to join, they will be most welcome.
11 p.m. UTC?
Yeah.
That's like 1 o'clock at our time.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Well, you know, if you want the talent, you got to go after it.
Right.
But if you don't want to join, or
he's from Canada, I think.
Yeah, if you have any questions or any concerns or anything at all that you want me to bring up with him, then please let me know, and I'll do that. So I think that wraps up the Scrum, unless somebody else wants to say something.
Yeah, I was wondering, did you ever add us to the Google Plus page?
Yeah, I did. I see that there are now two more members. So Christian and Andre are here.
Yes. It basically works like you send invitations, and then we need to go there and to join the community.
Is this what you were seeing? Because this is what I see.
What do you see?
No.
Did you get the invite in your mailbox?
Oh, I guess I didn't know I had to look for that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't automatically add you. You get an invitation. You have to accept it.
I think you're a gate crasher, Brian.
What?
I think you're gate crashing.
What's that mean?
Oh, sorry.
Crashing the party.
Yeah.
A private event.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But anyway,
I translated very badly.
I used that long and confusing email address that you sent me. So if you check that email, if you check that mailbox, you should have an invite.
That's my email address that Google is allowed to have.
You're very parsimonious with your information.
No, just that company.
But they promise to do no evil. Well, no, they don't promise to do no evil. They just claim that that's their guideline. Okay.
Claim when we're using their products.
Yeah. Recording everything we do within their ecosystem. Okay. If you can't find the invite, I'll send it again. Let me know. Okay?
No, I'll look for it. That's the information I needed.
All right.
I'm
cool.
sure it'll probably work now.
Okay. All right, guys. So let's wrap up the Scrum then, and call that done. And we can maybe take a few minutes to look at our progress, especially regarding the priority issues that we have. So 215. I saw, Craig, you've merged, you've made that change that Robbie had suggested.
Yep.
So as far as I'm concerned, 215 is ready to go. Does anybody have any additional comments, objections at this point?
Ship it.
Going once.
Don't say it.
Brian won't be able to help himself.
Oh yeah, sure.
That's not a bad squirrel.
Not the worst I've seen, anyway. Brian, where do you stand with this 215? Do you want to take more time to look at it?
No, I looked at it before, and everything. I don't have any more complaints.
We fixed yours, didn't we?
Ship it.
Yep.
Okay, so actually, especially since Craig, you're here, I think we can tag it with OSRA 276, and maybe we can also tag it with 238. So 238 is your refactor
When
story?
you say tag it, do you mean complete it?
Yeah, so I would, sorry.
Can we have a look at the 278? More detail?
276, sorry, it's here. It's this validation that there are no internal
Yep,
duplicates.
no, I'm happy for that. The importer refactor, we were going to discuss whether we created another importer refactor story with slightly different name, because I don't think we're still happy with it, really, are we? I mean, all I've done is maintain an API, but make it clearer. But we're not really happy with the implementation. I mean, long term, I can't see there being much of that code kept.
Yeah, okay.
I think Orphan Importer is like the bad neighborhood area of OSRA code.
Yeah, there are a couple of those. Would you like to then, what do you think, create some subtasks for 238?
I don't mind marking it done if it.
Okay, and then
whatever makes people most comfortable in terms of clarity. So if Pavel needs to see that we've done something and ticking that off, I'm not suggesting we play games, but whatever makes the process the most obvious and clear, I guess.
Okay. I would be happy to call 238 done, and then set up a completely new chore for any subsequent refactoring.
Cool.
Okay, so first of all, let me take the flag off of this thing. And then OSRA 238 done. OSRA 276 resolved.
Is that what Jira looks for?
Yep. Alright, here we go.
What does that say? Confirm merge, is it there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that will merge it then into the develop branch on the OSRA GitHub site?
That is correct.
That means everything needs to be rebased now.
Many things, definitely, yeah. Okay, so then the next action is here, this Excel config, and as we talked about, there's basically one change to be made to revert this, and then that'll be ready to go as well, right?
I think some of the specs may need to be reverted.
Right.
But it's not a biggie, I can do it later on.
Okay, cool. And 224. So, as I recall,
this is not 224, I don't think.
Sorry, it's pull request 224.
Oh, I thought. Never mind.
So it looks like everything is right. So let's right now create a separate chore on Jira for extract let's call it future date validator into, I don't know, and this affects sponsor and sponsorship. And that's a task, I guess. So yeah, these are these new labels that we have to work with. I guess task is appropriate.
Yeah, or improvement.
And I would think task.
Yeah, I would reserve improvement for something that is client visible.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah, all right.
So we lost chores as a result?
Yeah, we lost the word chore. I think it's just been replaced with task.
All right.
Is this from Jira update?
I think this happened when I switched around the types of issues that we can have.
Okay.
Because I needed to have the epic for the
Right.
Rails part, so now we have this.
I think Pavel nearly had his angry wig on at that point.
Well, you shouldn't leave so often. Okay, so that's not a part of the current sprint, which is fine, which is what we want. This is addressed. Okay, so Christian, you were going to take out this tag?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, okay. You know what, I like the idea of tags if we found some kind of a common use for them.
Yeah, you're right. You don't have to pollute the code with that.
But you know, if this comes up in the future as a useful thing, then I think that's something we can definitely revisit.
Especially slow tests, possibly.
Yeah, yeah, very good point. Okay, and then we have this discussion. Yeah, Brian?
At some point in the future, a really good look into which tests take so long and why might be in order, but I don't think that's incredibly urgent or urgent at all.
We have a chore already to refactor the orphan spec, and
That hits the database a lot, doesn't it, I think?
yeah, it's by far the slowest spec that we have in our suite, and yeah, the sort of the second half of that spec file, it hits the database multiple times. Okay, so let's hear some opinions about this date business. Do we hard code it in the spec? Do we let it use current?
I'm not going to lose sleep, whichever we choose. But I like it being dynamic because over the period of time, you know that practically every different date gets tested.
Yeah, well, normally to test everything, we can do like a for loop to test all the dates in a month or something.
Yeah, but that takes...
Yeah, that takes too long. It's
Yeah.
makes no sense.
So, so I understand why we would maybe want to stub it, but I mean, if I was writing the test, I'd probably make it date today, and then have today, yesterday, last day of the month, first day of the month, and second day of the month. But if we want to stick with it as it is, I think the thing that feels weird, if you can just scroll up to the code, or down to the after the today equals date part, whether we're using today and it's not today. So given that we're on Rails 4.1, if we are going to stub out dates, I would rather use travel to.
Is there such a thing?
Yes, in Rails 4.1.
So they have the time machine built right into the spec.
Yeah, and then travel to a date, and then today equals date today, and then you do all your stuff, and then travel back at the end of it.
Right. Christian, Andre, you guys wrote this stuff. What do you think?
Well, I know that today when we were working on specs for 294, we also used the actual dates to create the start date and the end date for the sponsorship. So if we are doing this, then maybe we can use the real dates in that test as well. I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's a valid point. I think whatever approach we choose to go with, unless we have a particular reason to alter it, we should stick with it throughout. But what do you think about Craig's suggestion of replacing this with relative dates?
With travel to?
Maybe even without travel to, but what he said, if we use date current, last day of this month, first day of the next month, something like that, so it tests dynamically.
Yeah,
it will test.
That's absolutely fine with me. Are these like Rails methods to do that?
Yeah.
Or okay, wow.
Craig, is the last day of the month, is that in Rails too?
Well, you would just basically do first day of the month minus a day, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Fair enough.
And maybe, I think you made the point of tomorrow being confusing because tomorrow may actually be the first day of the month, depending on when the tests run. So
right.
Maybe we need to refactor that other test to match best practices based on code review in this test. Because it looks like when we wrote that, we didn't get it. Well, when I wrote it, because I think I wrote that, I didn't get it right. Or it's more confusing than it needs to be.
Okay. Andre and Christian, what do you think? Are you okay with changing this to dynamic dates?
If you think it's better, sure, no problem.
Well, it's. What do you think?
Well, I think we should leave it as it is, just because when doing the course about SaaS applications, it says that all unit tests should be independent, so it shouldn't like pass now and hopefully in the next 2 weeks maybe it will fail and we can catch the error and fix it. And this is the idea of unit testing, to not rely on the date, so it's independent. Of course, as I said, the ideal path would be to do a for loop and generate a bunch of dates and throw them to the method, but that's too much.
Yeah, I mean, let's keep in mind that this method is fairly straightforward. We don't need to over-test it.
Yeah, and also I did change the stub date. I used other dates just to simulate the end of date, the end of the month day, the first of the month day. I tried them all, and they are okay.
But then, how do you feel if you felt compelled to do that manually? Does that tell you that maybe?
Well, I did it because you guys talked about it, and I wasn't sure then.
Okay.
So maybe I can still keep it stubbed, but I can like generate a little make today be middle of the month, last day of the month, first day of the month.
No, I don't think you even need to do that. But I would just use travel to instead of.
Yeah, or travel to. Sure. Yeah.
But you can stick with one date. But then, when you say today equals date today, it actually makes sense. Whereas today equals some arbitrary date. Today.
Yeah.
Isn't actually a well-named.
I know what you mean, and yeah. Well, the discussion.
What would you call the variables then? Like a date and day before? Yeah.
Well, no, I think today's fine if we use the travel to, because the travel to is making an intent that.
Or just day.
But then we have a yesterday as well. Would it be previous day?
Yeah, change it to day before, maybe something like that.
I'm a fan of making it deterministic as well, to where it's not using different data every time it runs.
Yeah, and I understand that, but you see, Nick's picked up some weird date issues as we've been developing the app, and because of how we've used
Today versus current.
yeah, and we wouldn't have picked those up if we didn't have random tests. So
What's the difference? We were using them interchangeably.
Don't.
What's the difference?
time zones.
Yeah, it's basically, it has to do with time zone. Today is a Ruby method, and Ruby uses your machine time. Current is a Rails method, and it uses the app's time, which by default is UTC. So I was running into problems where my tests were failing between midnight and 3 a.m.
Wow. Yeah, I think you mentioned that, but I did not quite appreciate at that point
Yeah,
the
but
implication.
I think both methods at the end they call a particular method in Ruby, and if you access directly the last one that uses the time, that would work.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know which one is it.
So
Well,
if we do not mix the date today and date current in one test, it might be.
Yeah, there's probably another one that's called from both of them.
Well, this is a bad time. If this was after midnight, I could demonstrate to you in console what kind of problems it causes, because you can end up with basically you can do it yourself. So if you wait until the clock rolls over,
Right.
over midnight, and then go into your Ruby console, or actually, sorry, Rails console, and say date.today equals date yesterday, and I think you'll get a true
Yeah.
out of this.
Wow.
But date current will never equal date yesterday.
So by making your time tests relative all the time, the longer you run them, the more confidence you have in them. That's my feeling.
Yeah. It is an interesting point. Like both points have value. One of them is never depend on the external factors. The other, the more you depend on the external factors, the more confidence you have.
As I say, it's not a big deal, and I wouldn't lose sleep over it being committed.
We are having these discussions because there are no standards to PDD. They're like ISO standards or something.
Yeah, I mean it's handy having a conversation, because the more you talk about it, the more you have an appreciation for it.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, so let's try to take a decision then.
Well, if I do today equals date.current, then I have to change the 5 days ahead this month.
Yes.
I have to change it to tomorrow.
Or you can change it to the last day of this month.
Or that, yeah. Or that one.
So what happens on January 31st, for example?
It will be the
Today
31st.
would be the current, and the last day of the month would also be the same day.
Yes, you would be testing the same date.
Yeah.
Is this okay?
Yes, it is.
Well, it's okay if we think that there is value in this dynamic approach, because there will be these occasions. Basically, at the end of every single month, we will have one redundant test. But what that buys us is that for the rest of the month, we have a dynamic test that tests multiple dates.
Okay.
Okay, so guys, do you want to look into this time travel too?
Is there any way to make it deterministic and test different dates without making it overly complex?
Well, to make it deterministic and test several dates, you're going to have to go to your edge cases, aren't you? So you're going to repeat this method, but set date today to maybe it's the first day of the month, a day in the middle of the month, and the last day of the month.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what that buys you.
It's too much for this. We are not
Yeah.
testing NASA equipment here.
Yeah, I would agree.
So I'll set
So-
the date to today.
So if we're doing it by date current to date current program, then we don't need to travel to anywhere, right? The travel to would be the deterministic approach.
Well, I think if you did travel to, you would still use date current. So what you do is you travel to a date. So in your example, you would say travel to. Can you just scroll up, Nick?
Yeah, it's 15th, I think.
15th of whatever it is, and then you would do all your tests. So you would say today equals date dot current, because you've already travelled there,
Okay.
and then you do all your dates pretty much as you would with a dynamic test.
Then
no-
you're not. I think I'm still confused. At which point are you using you travel to, let's say, December 15th?
Yeah.
But then why would you need date current? What would you use date current for?
Well, date current would return December the 15th.
So once you travel to, your date current becomes.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
stopping it.
And then you do all those tests, and then when you finish the test, you say travel back,
Right.
and it just resets your date back to your
Right.
whatever the date is.
Right.
As
But
easy as
then,
So I guess it's worth exploring. What if we made a thing in the RSpec configuration where it would test each block with edge cases without much more code in each test?
I'm
So-
not sure meta programming for tests is always if that's
So
what you-
instead of saying like context start date due, you could replace context with something else and have a method in the RSpec configuration that takes a block and runs that block as context for each of a handful of dates that are likely to be edge cases.
Yeah, that will work.
Not just in this test either. We could use it in multiple different places. So instead of like context start date, you could say, I don't know, walk underscore date start date due, and then have the same test here, except you could do that in multiple places. It would be very readable, and then everywhere you did that, it would run the test once for each suspected edge case.
Your edge cases are going to be different under different circumstances, though, aren't they?
Well, yeah, so I was thinking of grouping them all together. You know, like first day of month, second day of month, 15th of month, you know, I don't know, whatever, a list of 5 or 10, probably, hopefully not 10, but...
Well, Craig, if I understood correctly, what you mean is that in some cases, for example, your edge case may happen to be the 27th of July.
Yeah, or even if it's date, for example, it may be the transition between a year rather than a month, or the transition between the end of a day and the start of a day rather.
Well, the year transition, I would think, would be a global edge case. I don't know. It's just an idea I'm throwing out there. It's something RSpec will do. I mean, there's nothing to stop us from making our own thing that takes a block and runs it as a context, or describe, or whatever else.
How about, since we do need to make a decision on this and we would like to get this done quickly, how about we do this? This idea that Brian just described, if Brian, you or anybody else wants to take that as a kind of exploration and do when you have free time, then I think, well, I for one would be very interested to look at that implementation.
Yeah.
But since this would go well beyond the scope of this particular story in this PR. As I understand, everybody seems to be on board with traveling too.
Yeah, because then you can keep today. You can keep the variable today because today makes sense.
Okay.
Your today would be today equals date dot current, wouldn't it? Because so you would say travel to the 15th of December 2014, and then today would be date current, and yesterday would be
And then
today.
everything else is
everything flows.
Yep.
except for, I guess this would. Oh no. Okay. So we can keep everything.
Yeah.
Everything would just work, and the variables would actually mean what they're meant to mean. So yesterday truly would be yesterday. Today truly would be today. In the context of the method.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that would also work well with what I said, because at some point, if we decided to replace context with something like dates underscore sample or something, as long as you use date.current, then in the configuration you could just use travel to, run the block, travel to, run the block, and that would still work that way as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Andre and Christian, do you want to follow up on this?
Sure, sure.
And so basically, you need to change this
That-
line and to put one extra line above it, right?
Yeah.
So that could make it deterministic right now and give us the flexibility to also test a whole bunch of edge cases without having verbose long tests to look at and
Exactly.
whatnot.
I've put a link in the group chat.
Time helpless. Okay.
In that block that you were just looking at, probably that's okay. But I was wondering if any of the RSpec methods fails, the error message that we get out of that block when we are passing several days into one it,
Mm-hmm.
and are the RSpec errors are they fine? Are they readable at all?
No, is the short answer.
Are they what?
Are they readable? Do they make sense?
Like, let's say, for example, if we're looking at the bad date block here,
Yeah.
if one of these values fails, you will not get a clear message that 5/12 was not an acceptable date. You'll just get a failure on this block.
You get for all of them only one?
As far as I recall, yes. I mean, you guys can easily test it if you want, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. And
I think Christian tested that either today or yesterday.
yeah.
I thought, as far as I know, I get one error for each. So for this would be, I could get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 errors. Because it's doing the each and then it's doing the it. The it
So, for
is,
example, if you stick a good date in here,
yeah.
you would get an error message that would clearly point that it's that good date that's failing.
Well, that makes sense to me. Because the it is inside the each.
Yeah.
So Ruby or C or what is compiled to, it doesn't know the difference.
Can you reproduce the error message and just post it in the chat, and we'll see whether it's readable?
Didn't I send you?
You have the code. You sent it.
I sent you something.
Yeah.
From what I recall, I mean, there are easy ways to figure it out right now. We have some code.
It looked something like this, the message that I received from Christian. So that happens when the RSpec is failing. It's not terribly apparent what's going on.
Start date is set to 5/12/2014.
So expected errors got errors.
Oh, it does.
I'm not following the error messages here.
Yeah, because 5/12/2014 should be valid. Start date. It's in the past, so it's okay.
Oh yeah, that value is coming back from the model.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Oh yeah, okay. Now
Oh
it
no
makes
no
sense.
no, it's not. It's something I tested. It's not from this test. It's just something I wrote to test this error.
This
Oh,
wasn't
so
it. Log?
it's not from this particular test?
It's not from these values in the array.
Hmm.
I wrote some different error just to make it fail. But which one?
Yeah, like Nick suggested, if you plug a good date inside that block.
Or just change expect to not to expect to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't make me do it now.
Yeah.
Let me show you why I think why I was thinking that it would be a single failure. So this is our province spec, and you can see that the first thing that we're testing here is that province fixtures are valid. There are 14 provinces, is that right, Craig? I keep forgetting.
Around about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see that it basically iterates over the provinces and says that each one should be valid. But when I run this spec, one example.
Yeah, but that's yeah, but okay,
Well,
but make them fail. So say expect province not
Make
to
one
be,
of them fail.
expect province not to be valid. Or to not.
Won't this fail all of them?
Yeah, it will fail all
Yeah.
of them.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that won't give me anything.
so just real quick, do people have a preference for not
No,
to
no,
or
fail all of them. Let's see if we get one error or many errors.
You should get a
One error. Okay, then you're right. It's only one error for the whole iteration.
I was fairly certain that this is how it works because, well, I guess
Can I
some
just
of
have
you
a look
guys.
at that error message again, Nick? Sorry.
Nick,
Okay.
Nick,
Does
what
it?
happens if you put that expect inside of an it? Then will it give you 14 errors?
If I put expect inside, sorry, let me do what Craig asked for first.
Okay.
Do the error message. So basically, right. I think this is how it works. It fails on the first one,
And bails out.
and then it bails you out. Yeah.
So you would still get the correct error message, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So specify is like an it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the iteration is inside the it. So it's different from mine.
Let me go back to your code here.
The it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Are we okay on this then?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so for this PR, what's left is to do this travel to,
Yeah, and remove that tag.
remove the tag, and if somebody can tell me why is invalid is a good message.
Because we also use the dead presence. It's for if the date is blank or if the date is gibberish.
Yeah. If we enter yesterday. Right, so the default value I believe would be that this is blank because we are getting nil in our start date.
Yeah.
But in fact that is confusing because you entered yesterday in your field and it is not blank.
Okay. All right, I agree with that. Okay. So, two priority PRs. Both are just a short way away from being ready. So my question then is, well, actually, no, there is no question. Never mind. Okay. Okay, there is a question. Once these changes have been made by Craig on number 222 and by Andre and Christian on number 224, does anybody object to those PRs getting merged in immediately?
No.
Okay. All right, terrific.
When are we meeting with the client?
Sunday.
Oh.
But as soon as, so since number 215 got merged just minutes ago, I was going to push our develop code up to staging and then send that story to the client, because that will actually address several things that are still outstanding for the client. And with the importer, it's always a good idea to give them as much time to play with it as possible. But I think for number 222 and 224, I won't wait for them right now. I'll push up to staging immediately and send that to the client, and then once the other PRs get merged, then I'll repeat that process.
So you wanted to set up the staging server or the production server today?
Well, everything is set up. I just need to take our, so
Oh, you need just to push them.
Yeah, I just need, principally because number 215 got merged in, I want to push that to staging and let the client have a look at it.
Right, and that would be just a simple Heroku process.
No, actually, it's even simpler than that. It's a pull request that I initiate from within GitHub so a pull request from develop to staging. Once I merge it in, our CI takes over and tests and deploys automatically.
Oh wow!
What are you using for CI?
Semaphore.
Oh, is doing the deployment too?
Yeah. So actually, since we're talking about this, if nobody else has anything to discuss for the for everything that we've been talking about so far, then we can actually go through that process if anybody's interested in seeing how it operates.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the way I do this is I create a pull request that...
We've lost your screen, Nick.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I turned it off. I wanted to just reshare. Hold on. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm starting from the main page of the repo. Create a pull request. The base branch is staging, and we're comparing develop to it. So you can see that I'll be merging 36 new commits with 21 changed files. I usually look through everything here to make sure that, I mean, for example, I'm not merging backwards. That would be a really bad thing. But here's a summary of all the stories that have been merged into develop in the meantime. So create a pull request, develop to staging. And what I typically do is I write a short summary of the things that have been changed. So let's have a look. And I do it in two sections. One is the features, and these are the things that the client will see. And then another is under the hood, behind the curtains, whatever you want to call it, just summary of the things that are internal. So this is just for our own record keeping. So just going in order is, actually let me do this. I'll create the pull request, and Semaphore will start testing it right away. And then I can, in the meantime, I can fill this out. Okay, so we've, I'm looking down the list of commits here. Right. Okay, hold on, sorry. All right, what else do we have? Actually, display of, or format of display dates, that is part of adding sponsorship start dates. Is that right, Andre? Because you haven't changed that format anywhere else, right?
In the there were a couple of things that I did with the dates, right? So I added the sponsorship start date and added changed the format in the sponsorship start date and previous sponsorship start date and end date, and then also in the sponsor, partner, and orphan, I added the create at and updated as with
Okay.
the.
Oh, yeah, right. So all that is merged too. Yeah. Okay, you're correct. Okay.
I
So.
don't quite remember what it was merged, but yeah.
What else? What else? So the big one is. I can't even remember. Is this the first part of import or refactor, or?
No. Oh.
Alter it. I just didn't want to write first when it wasn't.
Do you know what? I don't recall anymore. And I don't think it was, because we did the first part as part of at
Is
the
this
very
where you
start of
were?
the sprint.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Is this where you were changing the import process to use the orphan model for validation?
Part of it, yes.
Yeah.
Do you need to update Ruby on Heroku, or does it know to read the gem?
It should know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've done it before, and it's fine.
Okay.
And
Well,
you specify the Ruby version of the gem file, right?
yes. And RVM reads the gem file, so I guess Heroku does. Should do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Okay, I think I'm not forgetting anything here.
I've got a funny feeling RVM actually says Heroku does, doesn't it?
RVM what, sorry?
When you change into a directory with RVM, it tells you that it's changing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it says Heroku does that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right. Okay, so I think that's a fairly comprehensive summary of everything here. I guess what I could have done is opened up Semaphore at the same time. Okay, so here's our, this is our main repo. Here you can see that it's linked to 3 different servers: production, staging, and testing. So these are respectively develop, staging, and master branches.
Yeah.
And deployment to these servers happens automatically. So Semaphore knows which branch goes to which server, and as soon as the tests pass, it deploys it. So in this case, actually, sorry, I misspoke. It doesn't run the tests because it is aware of the fact
It's already run then.
that they're already passing. So there is nothing left to do here but merge this pull request.
And how did you create the pull request basically to yourself from develop to staging?
Okay, I'll show you in a minute, Andre, okay? What I want to show you right now is that as soon as I did this, as soon as I merged it, Semaphore starting a build of the staging branch. You can see. So if we go here, you can see that what it's going to do is run these 3 commands. Bundle install obviously, then set up the database, and then it runs a rake task that we have called test with coveralls. And what this does is it runs RSpec and Cucumber, merges their results together, and then sends that information to coveralls. And it's probably a bad idea to be sharing this in a public broadcast, but here's the token for our coveralls repo. So it sends the information there.
Did you have to write a script to run all the stuff?
I just had to tell it which commands to run. For the rake task, I had to follow the guidelines from coveralls to set it up, but it was very straightforward. So a typical Semaphore build takes about 3-4 minutes. So in the meantime, we can go back and I can show you that to create a pull request, you use this button here.
Yeah.
And then you basically pick which branch you want to merge into. So what's the base branch that you're comparing it to? And then which branch you want to be merging.
Right. So it's basically like the ordinary Git syntax. Git merge, then what you want to merge into, then you want to merge.
Yeah.
And where do you put the staging? To the second one?
No, staging is the base.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What servers are you deploying onto, Nick? How many different?
It's gonna go to Heroku after this.
Okay, so the staging branch on OSRA, what is that used for kind of like user acceptance testing, or
Exactly.
production service?
So develop is where we merge code and where we can test our code as well. So with recent stories, we haven't had a lot of reason to do this because they were fairly simple in terms of the UI. But when we merged the importer, for example, we heavily tested it on the develop server. So this is our server that the client does not have access to, or, well, they don't know about it, basically. So we were able to test it on develop. And then once we were convinced that everything was working properly, we pushed it up to the staging server. And the staging server is where the client now takes a look at the features that we've delivered. Once the features are accepted, we push them up to production.
Which is the master branch, is it?
Which is the master branch of our repo, that's correct.
Okay, so anytime you kind of merge in a new develop staging or master, it's automatically shipped to the appropriate Heroku instance, yeah?
Right.
And
Yeah.
and building them there. Okay.
You will see, okay, so you can see our test finish running, everything is passing, information about the coverage is being submitted to coveralls, and right away you can see what happens is the OSRA staging server is now queued for deployment. And if we go to the deploy settings, you can see they're again very simple. It force pushes the branch to
You wrote them, yes.
Heroku, and then runs the migrations.
So if you use another path, if you use DigitalOcean or something, you write. Actually, DigitalOcean doesn't use it.
Yeah, on DigitalOcean, you get
But the idea is that you change how you push it from there and.
To whatever cloud service you're
Yes,
using.
I can show you the interface for that, I think, here. So, in the settings, if we go into deployment,
Yeah.
You can see the 3 servers that we already have set up.
Yes.
I can do add server, and Heroku is, foolproof. Basically, there is nothing to be done here. You just give it your what is it? The API token, I think, is what Heroku calls it, and everything is done for you. If you're doing anything other than these 3, there is a generic deployment scenario, which I don't have a lot of experience with, but I suspect it's fairly straightforward as well.
Probably an SSH page push, won't it?
Right.
But with Capistrano, basically can deploy to anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
So Semaphore is actually kind of like a web application that we use, is it?
Yep.
That will take the stuff off GitHub, run the tests with run the RSpec run those 3 things that you mentioned: the bundle install, the database setup, and the rake tests, and then coveralls is what we use to view the result of the test. Is that right?
Coveralls gives you the test coverage of your code. So what % of your code is covered by tests?
Okay, and that's visible on the kind of like Semaphore web?
Yes, yeah. So there is a gem called SimpleCov, which collects that coverage information.
Okay.
Yeah, and Semaphore essentially just sends that information, passes it on to coveralls. And while we're waiting, I can show you that on coveralls.
So whenever you look, to create a new, you merge it into staging, for example, how does Semaphore know to kind of get, how does Semaphore get triggered?
It has hooks into GitHub.
Okay, so it kind of pulls GitHub, does it? Get some sort of push.
Yeah, that's.
I think Git tells Semaphore, doesn't it?
It must be that way, yeah, because I can't imagine that GitHub would want Semaphore constantly pinging thousands of repositories.
Okay. So there's kind of like an API call from GitHub to Semaphore to kick it off, then?
Yeah.
Because it knows this GitHub project OSRA is using Semaphore or something. Is that right?
Yeah. So the setup happens in Semaphore, and I'm assuming that once you provide, yeah, I guess, well, GitHub has a standard API for this kind of stuff. So once you provide once you point Semaphore at the right repository and you authorize it, then every time GitHub, if there is an event on GitHub, then GitHub broadcasts that event to all the relevant services.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then Semaphore can just pull it itself.
Mm-hmm.
Once it knows there's a change.
New one there to take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're... sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, the deployment on staging is conditional on your merging develop onto staging. Probably the deployment on master would be conditional on your merging staging to master.
Right.
But how do you deploy to developer?
Every time we merge something into develop.
Ah, okay. So right. So it would always have the most current code.
Every pull request that gets merged gets automatically treated this way. Yeah.
Cool.
So after this runs in the staging area, how is it called? Does the client has to accept it, and so it runs in production, or how does this work?
So we send. So if we look, for example, at let's have a look at the pull requests.
This is going to sound pedantic, but really I'm trying to make my understanding more concrete. But isn't develop our master branch? Because when you make a pull request, isn't the pull request that you default the branch that you default to when you make the pull request the master branch?
No.
No. Okay.
It's the default branch.
Oh, okay.
I mean, names are just names, right? They're
Yeah.
Git. But if you go into the settings for our repo, you can see that the default branch is
okay.
developed.
Cool.
And that's the only thing that matters in this context. So Christian, to answer your question, now that I've pushed this up to staging, basically here is a list of the new things that the client needs to look at. If they and this process at this point is atomic, so they need to accept all these stories in order for us to push this up to production. It's possible, definitely possible, to do it incrementally, but it's unnecessarily cumbersome. So ideally, we should deploy to staging on a fairly regular basis and give the client 1 or 2 stories to look at, and they can sign off on both of them, and then we push that up to production. Or if they say that no, we're not happy with something, then we hold up the process until the story that they're not happy with has been fixed.
Right.
So basically, the next step that I'll be doing is I'll be posting on Google Plus and telling them that here are the things that we've changed. Here's how you test each and every one of them. So, click here, go here, have a look at that. Notice that this is now like that.
Oh, so many details.
I like to be fairly.
Yeah, because probably they forgot where to look.
Well, that's part of it, yeah. And if we were, for example, if we were using Cucumber with them, if they were technically, competent enough to use Cucumber, where I could simply send them the scenario that we had written together, I would send it back to them and say, okay, this is now ready. Then none of this would be necessary. But because, some of this, for example, the created at and updated at is OSRA 118, so that tells you we're now on OSRA 200 something. So that chore was added quite a long time ago. So for the client to remember that they had requested it at some point is maybe not very realistic. They will respond, and once they've accepted everything that's here, then it can be pushed up to production. And pushing up to production is an identical process to what you just saw, except for I don't write any kind of a detailed summary. I just push it.
Oh, it's a different remote production.
Yeah. So again, if we go back here and here.
And you had to create this is on the same account on Heroku, right?
It's under the same account, but there are 3 separate applications on Heroku.
Oh, nice.
And these are not your accounts, right, on Heroku? These are the OSRA accounts.
Production is my account, and staging and well, testing is definitely Motosim's account, and staging I think is as well, but production is mine.
Oh, wait, didn't you just say that it's only one account for all of them?
Well, okay, so it's not. It's two accounts. I mean, I have access to all the servers, and
Okay. So it's possible to have all of them in one.
oh, definitely, yeah. There is no, as long as they have different names, then that's all you care about.
Ah, I understand.
So,
Yeah,
so
sure.
the OSRA testing one, is that where develop goes?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay.
And yeah, I would have much preferred for it to be called OSRA Develop, but that precedes my involvement in the project. Not that we couldn't rename it, but I guess
It doesn't make you twitch enough.
Exactly, yeah.
Just talking about being pedantic, you see on the OSRA title it says sponsor orphans in Syria and ensure basic life and education requirements for Syrian children. See that up when you click on OSRA? Yeah, just at the top there, Nick.
Yeah. Sorry, where am I looking?
At the very top where it says sponsor orphans in Syria.
Oh, here, sorry. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Any chance we could change insure to ensure?
Yeah.
It's two different words in English, so
Yeah,
it should be ensure.
Thank you, Robbie.
Insure is about fixing getting your car fixed when it gets dinged.
Okay, any questions about any of this?
Is the client already using this in production in parallel testing or something?
No.
I mean, no.
No.
Okay, then maybe we'll have one month or something where they test. They do all the work on paper and also on the application, the same work.
Yeah, well, we made it clear to them that they definitely shouldn't just put all their eggs into this basket and abandon everything that they have and burn all the records.
Right.
So, but first of all, when they start using the application, there will be a fairly slow process as they migrate all their data. So they have about 500 sponsors that effectively have to be entered manually, and they have a bunch of orphan spreadsheets that they need to import, and I would be surprised if there were no errors at all during the import process.
Are we going to have any backup system, or?
We have regular database backups on Heroku, but that is entirely untested. So I've turned them on, but that's all I've done. So I have no idea how we would recover from any kind of a database problem.
Nick, you mentioned about having to import 500 orphans or sponsors by hand?
500 sponsors in total, yeah.
Well, why do they have to do that? Surely they have some sort of a... They don't have it in paper records, do they?
They're in Excel, and the application isn't configured to import sponsors.
But even so, can you not get something that will run automatically? Like the way that Cucumber does, for example. It runs things automatically. Should be some sort of a script that could be run to, or even just an import process. Having to import 500 sponsors seems a bit of a...
Yeah, well, they were looking, they were, maybe excited is not the right word, but they were going to take the opportunity to review their records at the same time, so there is at least some kind of side benefit to this.
But review them in Excel and then actually run a script to import them, surely.
Well,
pull requests are welcome.
Yeah. I would be very reluctant to suggest that to them in case they actually take us up on that offer, because
Right.
that delays phase 0 again indefinitely.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the importer for the sponsors, it certainly would be less involved than the orphan importer, but it would still be work.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and sorry, so here I'm showing you the coveralls. You can see that staging. This is the build from Semaphore. It's the 21st deployment to the staging. We pushed about 15 minutes ago. You can see our coverage here, and then if you go to the main page, this is where this badge comes from.
Right. Thank goodness for rounding.
You know,
So we
And-
still don't know how to make gymnasium.
yeah, I'm not sure what the heck is going on there. In fact, actually, we can look at this right now, and I can show you the part that I'm kind of confused about. So, for example, here we have Action Pack, and it says affected versions.
Or 1.8. Yeah.
Actually, maybe Sprockets was one that. Basically, I couldn't figure out the difference between. Okay, here. Oh no, this is prior to. Okay, never mind. Okay, maybe I was just confusing myself for no good reason.
Go to the first test. First error. Is
So
this
it's,
for Rails? Look, it's Rails. Oh, it's fixed versions for 1.8, so it should work.
well,
But
this is version of Action Pack, but the version of Action Pack should be the same as
yes,
Rails.
yes. So did this run again?
I don't know, and I
Because
don't
it
know
says
how to.
December 5th.
And it's counting down on your trial meter.
Yeah,
I
it's what
remember
I
the
told
time
you.
when it was 20 something days. I wonder what happens when you have no days left.
Nothing
Time travel.
happens to the repository. Nothing happens to this service. But if you don't log in or if you don't sign up, you don't have access to these detailed errors or warnings. So we'll
And
have
you
to,
really need to have access to them.
yeah. So we'll have to figure out something to get some kind of Agile Ventures level access
Ah,
to Gymnasium.
yeah, probably from there we can restart this or what I have to do. Update. And also, Semaphore is paid or free?
Semaphore is paid is free for open source.
No, the one we're using is free.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So what happens when Heroku very quickly you run out of the 10,000 free rows in Postgres and you need to start paying? Are they going to pay through you to your account, or are they going to get your account?
You can send the account to the client.
Are you going to transmit your Heroku account over to the client?
I think I can add them as collaborators. Maybe that will be the easiest way to handle this.
Well, you just,
actually,
if
I don't know.
if they set up an account, a paid account, all you need to do is tell Semaphore that the remote production's changed.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I think also Heroku has this to transfer the application to the client. I think all sites, all hosting, cloud
But,
hosting.
yeah, you can definitely transfer it. I mean,
Yeah.
as long as I am still the technical person behind the client account, I guess that's fine. But obviously we need to have access to the Heroku servers, even if it's technically under their name.
If the client wants to move to DigitalOcean, I can get $10 free for the account. I think that's 1 month free or something.
Yeah.
Depending on the on the plan, it can be 1 month or 2 months.
Well,
Like-
yeah, I don't know that $10 if it lasts more than 1 month or not. I don't know.
But
Like I
basically,
said-
every new person, every new user of DigitalOcean will get these $10.
Oh,
Ready.
really? Then I will get another $10. Yay!
Like I said, they've been willing so far to pay for our Amazon storage. They have actually, so we technically we do have a private repo on GitHub that we probably will never actually use, but they were okay to pay for that. So I assume that Heroku, hopefully, whatever small cost to upgrade will be acceptable to them as well.
Yeah.
Heroku doesn't jump by small costs, so does it?
Does it? Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? I've never looked at it.
Nick, just going back to the import of the data records.
Yeah.
I mean, you can run. I've got pgadmin running here, and you can get it to import into a table from like a CSV file. You wouldn't have to do any further development. You just use something like pgadmin, get the spreadsheet put out in CSV format, and run a script to load it into the database.
I think that's less of a concern, and what's more of a concern is if there's a problem with the data.
Yeah, but what you're saying, Craig, fix the data in the Excel spreadsheet. I mean, if there's problems with it, obviously you'll see it whenever you bring it into the database.
No, I don't necessarily mean. Okay, but if something goes wrong with the data on the import process, and they're taking it in tablets of stone.
Well, you kind of read it out again and check that it's all okay. But I'm just saying that it would be a lot easier than trying to do 500 records by hand. I presume you've got something like pgadmin can run on Heroku?
Your guess is as good as mine, Robbie.
Let's ask Google. See if Google. Well, I think there's some Stack Overflow questions.
Well, I suspect that this may be something worth investigating.
It's Wooderson is kind of like a contact there, and he's technical enough. It might be something that he might want to take on.
When he has free time, he's definitely competent to do something like this. But it's like I said, he's not planning to come back until January, from what I understood.
Right.
I mean, this is something that if we decided to go, first of all, I would like to investigate and make sure that there is a solution before we propose this to the client. But if it turns out that there is, then maybe we can implement something that what we discussed for the orphan importer, where we write some kind of a macro that does conditional formatting in Excel to verify the records.
Yeah, good idea.
Assuming that the records are in Excel. I mean, for all I know, they might be printed on paper. We haven't discussed the import for our sponsors at all, so I don't know what they're working with.
Yeah, I mean, it depends whether you've got more validation in the model than you would have in the database.
Well, you probably have more validations in the model than. I mean, our database has practically no validations or no constraints.
How many fields are we talking about importing on that? Can you remember?
I don't think this is something that we ever knew.
This is the sponsors.
Yeah.
Well, the database got 23 columns.
Yeah, but some of those are, I don't know, what foreign keys, maybe for
IDs
sponsorships.
and all that sort of stuff. You need to get ID fields right. Okay.
Come on, Heroku. Oh,
Pardon?
wait. Sponsors get an OSRA number, don't they? So you cannot import them directly into the database. Do they have OSRA number?
Yes, there's an OSRA number field here.
So that's generated by Rails.
Oh, right. So they don't have an OSRA number now in the spreadsheet.
Sorry, say it again.
I thought it was an OSRA number. It was something they already had. There was some
No,
key that they
no,
already
no.
used in the spreadsheet.
No,
Okay.
the OSRA numbers for all are generated dynamically when those records are inserted.
Right. So it's not going to be just as
Oh,
easy as
terrific.
straightforward here.
Okay, well, I got a bit of work to do, it looks like. Why is this failing? Huh. What have we changed on the sponsor model that would make a record invalid?
Start dates? Visit dates?
Yeah.
They were not merged.
Created it, updated it, but I mean, that should be there no matter what.
Heroku log.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's... Alright. Is anybody interested in watching?
Oh yes,
Oh, yeah.
that's really disruptive.
Alright. Oh, yeah, by the way, did you notice that since we've upgraded to updated Active Admin, the styling on the buttons changed?
And,
Shiny.
Looks like they are pushed.
yeah, they really want to keep you in active admin. They don't want to let
Right.
you go.
Brian's been polishing those.
Oh, I worked on the functionality of one of them, not the actual eye candy.
So I actually, on my local machine, I keep them as entirely separate applications. I'm sure, it would be easy enough to set up different remotes for Heroku from the same application, but
That's what you're saying.
I probably need to revisit.
Yeah, maybe that's even not a very trivial task to have in one Git repo to connect it to 3 different Heroku servers.
So there is no start date for the sponsor apparently. And does this look right, Andre?
You are not screen sharing.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry guys. I
The
thought I was.
start date.
Yeah.
The start date in the model is set by default to current date.
The start date didn't we remove, but that was in sponsorship.
Can you see my
Or-
screen?
No. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so the problem is here that it's trying to call string from time on nil, it says, and that's where it's failing.
Oh, right. So the string from time may be my. my function.
Guys, sorry, I have to go for a minute of time here.
All right,
All
Robbie.
the best to you, see you tomorrow.
Okay,
Bye.
bye. So how did that get there?
Very quick.
Can you see on what exactly it is trying to call the string from time? On which attribute? On which model? Sponsor controller.
Sponsor 17. So maybe I can do that. Sponsor. It claims that it's valid.
What's
Yeah, but
the
it may be
name?
calling stir for time on nil, and nil may be valid.
Yeah. Well,
So print out sponsor.find.start date.
Yeah. Can you just print out all of the?
Everything maybe.
Print out everything. Or will it be too much? So what is the nil here?
Sponsor from Toronto.
Created it, updated it, start date. Is it possible that it is looking at sponsorships, not at the sponsor?
certainly.
Sponsorships are created in the orphan.
Yeah.
So this sponsor find 17.sponsorship.
Yes.
Yeah, we can do that. How about we do? Okay, they're still all valid.
Yeah, but the cement date is nil, isn't there?
Yeah.
Now, if you call stir for time on nil,
Yeah.
so it's not that they're not valid. It's just
But
that it needs to
what
be
do you want
valid.
to call the yeah. Okay.
Nil.
Lots of nils here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but these are active.
Oh, I think I might know that maybe when we so if we want to display the end date.
So the thing that displays the end date should, instead of saying string from time end date, it should just say end date and string from time end date.
Yeah, or string format time if end date.
Let's test this. If we go to
What
this
is this
one.
line? What is this line 17? I still, yeah.
It was the sponsor's ID. Is that what you're referring to?
Oh, it was the sponsor's ID.
Well, that's where I saw a 17.
That's where I saw 17. Yeah.
Yeah, sponsor from Toronto. ID is 17. Okay, so here we can test this. We have a sponsor with 2 active sponsorships. No, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, no.
Because for the active sponsorships, the end date is not being displayed.
Yeah, exactly. That's my.
Can you also do that map in the console and map by active? Do the same line but map by active. So let's see.
False, true, true, false, false, false. Am I reading this right?
Okay, I'll read the false and true, and you read the top. False, true, true, false, false, false.
Slow down.
Okay,
It's
again.
easier to programmatically output the double.
One of the nils is a false.
False,
Yeah.
true, true, and the last one is true.
Yeah, I think this nil here.
Yeah, that nil is different than the rest.
Wow, how come?
So somehow a sponsorship got inactivated without the end date being recorded.
Need more tests.
And what is giving us problem? What is giving us the error?
So what's giving us the error is that here, when you go, it wants to display the previously active sponsorships.
Right.
And it wants to put the end date for it, but there is no end date.
Well, give that sponsorship an end date and see if that fixes the view.
Yeah. How do we find this thing?
Do the map again, but do ID. And it's the
1, 2, 3, 4, 5th.
yeah.
So 35.
Yeah. Sponsorship ID 35.
Or active to true.
Yeah.
Well, either way, I suppose it takes care of it, right?
Save it.
Yeah, that should work.
Once it's
saved. Once it's saved.
Save it.
Save it.
Oh, yeah, save it.
I think you like _.save or something.
No, you have to assign it to a variable.
How about I do this?
I think you can even
Better.
All right.
Yeah, that works too.
Good.
There you go.
Wow. Is this something that we should be guarding against, or is it some glitch of the database that should never occur
Oh,
with the proper use of the application?
can you check when this was created? Or the date created?
When was sponsorship ID 35 created?
The 11th.
Exactly a week ago.
That might have been the problem.
Did we fix something since then?
Or
So where do these data come from? Are they seed data?
when was 208 merged? Before the 11th, right?
Oh, I guess this doesn't give me anything. When was 208 merged?
Yeah. I think it was before the 11th. Was it? 0208, not PR.
Oh, yeah, right. What PR is that? Do you remember?
No, I can look, but I guess we could both look. I'm looking.
Does Jira show the git commit?
No. PR 174, I believe. Merged 9 days ago. On the 9th.
And it's merged into develop or into staging? Into develop.
It was merged into develop, and then we will have to have a look at when I pushed to production after that. Oh, sorry, to staging, yeah. 8 days ago. 8 days ago, multiple times.
And
Although
8 days ago.
Okay, so
208 was the problem.
Well, if 208 was the problem, if it was the problem, is there anything that fixes it?
Well, I mean, we could push a view fix through just to keep the server from crashing, but I don't think that's addressing the root cause.
No, but I mean, has anything been pushed in the meantime that would have fixed it?
I haven't touched that part.
Because
Uh,
because if it's still broken, if I inactivate this sponsorship, is that going to break things again? Because, you know, the end date is being recorded here.
yes.
What did you do to cause that error? I wasn't looking. I was
There's only one way to find out.
I didn't do anything. I just went to look at the sponsor.
So basically, the clients did something, right? They created a.
Yeah, most likely. I don't think anybody from the dev team is doing anything on the staging server.
So we can't even predict how many sponsors there may have those invalid sponsorships. Can we sort of cycle through all the sponsors and try to look at the sponsorships which would be at the end date would be nil and the active would be false?
We can just do sponsorships themselves.
Sponsorship find where would this work?
Yeah. Where?
The sponsorship where? Sponsorship dot where?
Sorry.
No, dot where. Yes, that's mine.
So it's end date.
Equals nil. Or colon nil.
Yeah.
Or equals nil. I forget the syntax.
And active is false.
Colon false, yes.
Just make sure that we're running this correctly.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So that was the only one then.
There are so few sponsorships?
Well, these are the active sponsorships.
Ah. Okay. Okay, so there was just one glitch. Okay.
Okay, then the problem is they entered something in the end date and then active turned to false when they pushed the button, and the end date wasn't valid. And
But what happens if you inactivate one in the...
Well, that's what I did, wasn't it? I just
What did you?
inactivated.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. I mean, here.
yeah, that
Cool. What happens if you take that date out and hit end sponsorship?
yeah.
Ah.
That's the one. Is no validation.
But we are validating now, right?
Yes, but
this-
it's not merged.
It's not merged yet, but it will be merged
Yes, and it,
soon.
we are doing this. Yeah, we're doing it there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The sponsor.
So this is something that there is no PR for yet, huh?
There will be, I think it's in Christian.
It's what we are working today.
Yeah, that's what we were working today on, yes. So it will be PR.
Tomorrow it's done.
Okay. Okay. What I'll try to do in the meantime then is I'll take a look at what stories I can still send to the client without any danger of them running into this bug. And then I guess wait for your PR guys.
Yeah. Do you want to reset this sponsor 17 to?
Yeah. I'll do that. I don't want them. Yeah. You know, I've had a suspicion that they ignore errors when they pop up, because there was one thing on import that they told me the records get rejected, and I asked them to tell me exactly what happens. Then they tried to import that file because I suspected that he was actually supposed to break the application, but they they basically, I think what they did was they tried it, they got an error, and they tried it again, and then they got, sorry, they got this, they broke the app, and then they tried it again, they got the error message, and they only told me about the error message and didn't tell me the application breaking.
Mm.
So maybe we should, next time we talk to them, we should tell them that, you know, it's important to us and to know when the application breaks, and that it is not expected to be breaking, even though we're not in production yet.
Yes, of course.
Okay,
So
so
the application, you define the breakage of the application by the error 500?
well, to them, this is the application breakage.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
if they can break it, it would be nice if we can get details how they broke the application.
Yeah, but that may be unfeasible for them to keep track on exactly what they're doing, or to remember what they exactly were doing before they.
Yeah, you're right. But just in case, you know, it
So
helps.
we
Yeah.
have something on the production server. We have an add-on called PaperTrail, which monitors. It basically it's a logger, so it's a friendlier way to look at logs.
Mm.
And whenever it encounters an error in the logs, it sends me an alert.
Uh-huh.
Or at least, well, it does it once per day, so it's not real time. Just at the end of the day.
It says the details with the error.
I think you can parse out enough details from it, yeah, to see what happened. On our production server, we also have New Relic enabled, which is real-time monitoring. But for it to trigger an alert, the errors have to cross a certain threshold. So if it's just an occasional error that they experience, at least the way it's configured currently, nothing would happen as far as that goes.
Did you set up the logger in any way for it to pick up only the very important errors? Like,
What did I do with the logger? I think, like I said, all I told it to do is to email me daily updates if there are error messages in the logs.
because it's possible to set up the logger so that it would log only like critical errors, or log everything.
Yeah, I think it retains a lot of log lines, so there's no danger, particularly of running out of space. But yeah, if we find that we need to, then we can probably tweak it. I haven't looked at it at all. Okay, so what do I need to do here? Sponsorship where, end date, nil, active, false.
Yeah, should be one.
Yes, and first
Dot update.
you need to do first in it.
I need to do
yeah.
what's right?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Active to true maybe, or date. Yeah.
Well, I actually didn't activate it, so I just purposely broke the end date on it.
So
Okay. All right, so well, guys, it's on you then. The faster you can push that out, the better. If the other thing is that if you see that the PR is becoming so large that there's a danger of a long code review process, then maybe extract the bug fix into its own PR and push that out as quickly as you can.
this is going to be reasonably small. It should be smaller than the previous PR. Right?
Okay,
Because
good.
we are dealing with just one situation.
All right.
We're checking just one date. So yeah.
Okay, just to make sure that we keep track of this, this is under 294.
Yes.
Just for the sake of recording this, can you create a separate subtask and label it as a bug? And then we will link your pull request to both of those.
Okay. Should it be something like dependent? Is there any dependency between them, or is it like an independent thing?
Well, it will be a subtask of OSRA 208. I think that's fine. So if you go to OSRA 208, you can go all the way down and create a subtask here.
Right.
And you just make sure that as a label you select the bug on it.
Yes.
It's not a.
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Actually, sorry, for a subtask, I'm not sure if you can choose it. You can label it as a bug.
Mm.
If not, create it as a standalone issue then.
Okay.
On 294, I don't see a subtest. Should I?
No,
208.
294 is already a subtask.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so you can't have like a subtest within the subtest.
No.
208. Yes, I understand. Right. Okay.
Okay, guys, anything else?
Not.
So we're waiting for progress. Let me go back to the pull requests. We're waiting for progress on 222 and 224, and presumably there's going to be a 225 in the very near future, and that will be a priority as well. But all of this looks like it should be fairly quick to merge. There shouldn't be too long of a code review, so maybe even, who knows, by the end of the day tomorrow, we might have merged everything we needed to merge for phase 0, so basically to reach the goal of this sprint, which is to resolve all the flagged tasks.
Yeah, great.
Okay, so let's be productive.
Okay.
Everything's on schedule.
Terrific. All right, guys. See you tomorrow.
Bye bye. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.